Welcome to another episode of Bob's Bus Rescue. This is episode 10 and we're going to do a bit of fabricating around the rear wheel arch tub. I have to think about that, it's quite a mouthful. Yeah, there's quite a lot of work to do. The straight piece was easy, but the actual fabricating of the end corners is a lot more difficult. So before we make a real start today, I had a bit of an accident today. Shouldn't really laugh. But I've kind of taken a lot of my hand off with the wire wheel on here. So what I found was that I had these safety gloves on. Basically snagged the material of the safety glove, I think, with the wire wheel brush as I was grinding away, cleaning up this backing plate. It's just caught it slightly and then it snagged it. It wound up and you can see the mess it's made of the glove. Made a similar sort of mess of my hand and the back of my hand. Not the cleverest. What I should have used was, I have some armoured gloves. I should have just used my armoured gloves rather than these. I won't be doing as much work on the bus over the next week or so while I wait for my hand to heal. I'll just be doing minor things. I might be able to weld, ironically. That's something I might actually be able to do. We are going to do a bit of fabricating on this left-hand rear wheel tub. Been trying to do some around here. You can see I've got this cut off now from the bus where I shaped it on. I am now going to fill that up there with weld, which will create, it effectively creates the bend radius it should have had. But because it's really hard, because it has that sort of bend in it, it's got all sorts of form to it, it would be a bit of a nightmare to create that when it has a 90-degree bend on it. So I will fill that up with weld and then I will be able to grind that down a nice radius, and then on the outside here I will also be able to grind that to the radius, and I will also weld this up as well so that it all just becomes one piece of metal. And then once it's fitted on, I will then cut this to shape to suit what's on the bus. So as you can see there, that we've welded that up on the inside. It's all a bit rough, I know, but the thing is, it just grinds out, and we'll get left with a radius. So I've got it kind of fabricated up. Doesn't look too bad, really. Inside's a bit rough. Could do a bit better. Might do a bit more grinding and cut it, but you know. So as we come around here, that will tack into place and pull round, a little bit of hammering, a little bit of tacking. That's not too bad. So I'll tack that into place now and carry on. There, this will work. Maybe it'll hold itself in place with this. Just going to tack it in. There we go, that's tacked in now. So I've done a bit of welding there on this rear wheel tub. So there you go, we've got that all buttoned up now. Just need to grind that little blob there, forgot to grind that off. A little bit more grinding there to do. And on the inside it looks fairly decent. I've also ground up all this here as well, where it had the thing, the back of there. That's all done now. So I'm at this point now here. This is where I need to carry on from. So we'll count that as done. I'll probably coat that with some weld edge prime or something, just to keep it from rusting. But I now need to start at this end. And this is a bit more rusty down here, so I may have to choose where I cut away and don't cut away. So I've just welded up this part, which was just a small section of the rear wheel tub. So I've had to form it, so because it does have a certain amount of form to it, so I've had to form it so that it's got the curvature, and then the curvature of the other piece, it's kind of two curvatures. And then the other thing it does is, unfortunately, it's got a curvature this way as well. So it's a pretty difficult piece to replicate. So I've welded that up on the inside there and give it a curvature there. As you can see there, that'll just get rid of that tack I put in there. But yeah, that'll fit nicely. Weld that in, and then I will continue and just do this piece, because this is all just there. It's kind of on the underside, it's kind of had it. So I'll cut this piece and do a small piece there. I've had to do this in smaller chunks because of just because of all the curves that go in. It's too complicated to try and do in one go. I mean, I could 3D scan it just using Polycam on my phone and then print a model of that form and hammer it out. Could do that. Yeah, I might do that next time I do this sort of thing. But levels of arseness can't really be that arsed. It's much easier to just do this and then do that. So I finished up that bit of welding on the rear wheel tub. So you can see here, we've got this piece has gone in here, and the second smaller piece there, because it's not really rotten there, there's a tiny bit of surface rust there. And then it's all okay until you get to about here, then it seems to be rotten there. So this part is all now finished up. This flange here may need adjusting as I offer the actual side panel in that goes on the side, but we'll see. But for the time being, I believe that's done. There's a little bit of surface rust on some of this here, which I've taken off. I've been starting to expose what's been going on here as well, which I'm inclined to. This part was so covered in weld seam sealer, it's fine. But the bit that's not great is, so get the light there, is around here. This has been rotting quite well, and there's a piece there, and then on the inside there's a piece that goes on the outside. So there's two pieces back to back there. So those back to back pieces need to be sorted out, so I've got to separate them out. So I'm going to take a certain amount of this out. This is obviously all had it here, but I also now need to start exposing this, which then means I need to start exposing this as well, I think. So as you can see, I hope you can see that there with the light, it's all had it on the ceiling there, and you can see from in there that it's just totally rotten there anyway. And somebody looks like they've cut a piece in there in the past. Could have been me. I did do a little bit there, that was probably me in the past. So yes, need to expose all this and then expose all that as well, because it's all linked. Just so I can do this bit. This tub is a nightmare. It's such a shame that nobody makes a tub fabrication, or at least this front piece. This front piece would be really useful if someone were to do that. It's almost tempting to scan it and get a tool made and start doing them, because people do need them, but how many would they need? And once you start doing that sort of thing, you need to do lots of parts really to be able to make a business out of it. I considered all this part of it, it's finished up now. It's just this bit. Got to do this bit, which means I need to also expose all here. So I think in my mind now that will do for this episode 10, because I've done quite a lot in here as well. It's all this niff-naffy small pieces. It's quite time consuming, especially when you bear in mind I was creating the parts from bringing metal that you've formed in one direction and another piece of metal that you formed in another direction. You bring them together and then you have to fill the inner radius so that you can create a radius, and TIG weld the outside because it works a lot nicer if you TIG weld the outside, MIG weld the inside because of the gas flow. So MIG welding works fine on the inner radius. TIG's great for the outer because you can make sure then you get the good penetration. It allows you to roll over the actual material that's there as well, so you can melt the existing parent material so that it creates a lovely piece of metal. Basically it makes it more homogeneous and solid as one piece of metal rather than just a load of weld where you might have imperfections in between. It makes it more continuous. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you like what you're seeing. Thanks very much. Thanks. Bye for now.